Hey guys, tonight we drift off into one of the ocean's most beguiling enigmas, the Bermuda Triangle. You're not just imagining hazy fogs or stormy seas, you're actually stepping into a place where thousands of square miles of blue and turbulent waters swirl with whispers of vanished planes and lost ships. Picture yourself on a tiny vessel here, the sun's dipping below the horizon, the water's a dark, endless mirror, and somewhere out there, in this very tangle of sea and sky, history's unsolved puzzles await. You probably won't survive this. All right, maybe that's dramatic, but it's exactly the kind of creepy crawl you want before bedtime, right? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, don't forget to drop your location and the local time down in the comments. It's always cool knowing where the mystery is reaching tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle, is not a mythical shape your GPS would recognize. You step into a broad stretch of the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean, roughly bounded by points in Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. It's vast, about 500,000 square miles of rough water and shifting weather patterns. Sailors, aviators, and storytellers have spun tales of eerie disappearances for over a century, but it's only in the last 100 years or so that those whispers have grown into full-blown legends. You feel the weight of history sinking in like gravity pulling down a ship's anchor. Vessels lost without distress calls, aircraft vanishing mid-flight, mariners never seen alive again. Was it natural hazards or something more supernatural? The idea that this triangle holds some secret gateway or devouring vortex taps into a deep human need to explain the unknown. But as you trail the coastline of these stories, it gets clearer that the truth isn't a tidy package. This place lives in the intersection of fact, folklore, and fear. Every wave, every uncharted whirlpool, every flashed compass needle plays a role in the ongoing tapestry of mystery. But this isn't just about disappearances. It's about how humans meet the unfathomable and craft stories to make sense of chaos. The Bermuda Triangle is in some ways the ocean's bedtime story, a riddle that has kept explorers and dreamers awake, staring at starless skies, wondering what lurks beneath. Historians still argue whether the Bermuda Triangle is even that mysterious at all. Some insist it's little more than a patch of ocean with unusually bad luck and brutal weather conditions. Yet the magnetism of the myth draws us back, night after night, like a siren's call that refuses to fade. You might scoff, but if you listen closely, the wind through the rigging almost sounds like it's whispering those lost names and vanished flights along the waves. So as your eyelids grow heavier, know that your voyage into the Bermuda Triangle has only just begun. Somewhere out there, a plane disappears into the horizon. A ship slips beneath frothing tides, and the unsolved mystery grows thicker with every passing night. You lean in closer now, tracing the invisible lines on a weathered map, as your mind drifts over the strange geography that makes the Bermuda Triangle such a unique and unsettling patch of the sea. The area's borders aren't exactly etched in stone, and that's the first source of confusion. Most mark the triangle's corners as Miami and Florida, Bermuda and Puerto Rico, but some maps stretch the points wider or narrower, depending on who's telling the story. Maybe that's part of the mystery itself. The zone isn't fixed. It's like smoke drifting freely, refusing to be confined by simple lines or boundaries. Thinking like a sailor from centuries ago, you'd rely on compass readings, stars, and the barest notion of where you are on the vast blue. The earliest mariners who sailed through these waters had no GPS or radar. They depended on rudimentary maps drawn by explorers who themselves wrestled with a sea that could deceive with phantom landmarks, shifting sands, and treacherous currents. The Gulf Stream, a powerful ocean current, snakes through the area, carrying waters that can shift the course of any ship or plane unlucky enough to get caught without perfect navigation. You remember that these early maps were often more art than science. beautifully hand-drawn, colored with ink but dotted with inaccuracies born of guesswork and legend. Sailors spoke of strange occurrences not long after Columbus's time. Some whispered about compass needles spinning wildly and phantom islands that appeared and vanished. One particularly odd tidbit is about the mapmaker's use of the vile vortex concept, a term coined later in the 20th century to describe areas on Earth where magnetic fields behave strangely. Though it borders on fringe science, some early theories blame the triangle's peculiar geography for disrupting navigation instruments, leaving sailors disoriented on the water. Historians still argue whether those earliest tales were a case of sailors' imaginations running wild or real phenomena disguised by poor record-keeping. It's worth wondering if the ever-shifting natural conditions, combined with human error and outdated maps, planted the seeds for the ominous mystery we now know. After all, before planes first dared to cross these skies, seafarers already had a wary reputation for the area. What's fascinating is that the Bermuda Triangle's cartographical quirks fuel a cycle of fear and fascination. Sailors would report dead zones where radio signals dropped, compasses spun out of control, and weather turned sour without warning. The weight of these accounts, mixed with genuine navigational challenges, means the triangle has always occupied a shadowy space between myth and reality. Even today, as you gaze at satellite images and digital maps that are painstakingly accurate, the Bermuda Triangle's borders remain more a matter of folklore than science. That floating, shifting line on the ocean makes you realize that the area isn't just defined by coordinates, but by the stories it has inspired, stories told under starry skies, passed between generations, and now surfacing on your screen as you settle down for this tale. So you continue to trace those hazy lines, realizing that part of the triangle's magnetic pull comes from the very way we try, and fail, to pin it down. Its geography corrupted by mystery, a place where the map can't capture the whole truth. You might be surprised to learn how the Bermuda Triangle got its catchy, ominous nickname. After all, it wasn't sailors or old legends that first put those three words together. The story behind the name is almost as mysterious as the vanishings themselves. The key player? An aviation magazine article from the 1950s that fired global imagination. Before the term Bermuda Triangle floated into popular culture, the area was mostly called the Devil's Triangle, or sometimes the Deadly Triangle. But the 1950 article by Vincent Gaddis in Argosy magazine aimed a spotlight on the strange disappearances within a loosely defined section of the Atlantic Ocean. Gaddis's article wove together tales of missing ships and airplanes with dramatic flair, packaging the stories into a single haunting narrative. This was the smoking gun that transformed scattered reports into a centralized mystery, inviting readers to wonder if something supernatural lurked beneath the waves. Why Bermuda? The island itself has a reputation filled with British charm and subtropical calm, but also a certain air of mystique. Its position at one point of the triangle made it an unavoidable reference. Add to that the fact that Bermuda was already a popular stop for sailors, privateers, and explorers with a penchant for intrigue, and you have the perfect setting for an enduring myth. It's also worth noting that the U.S. Navy, which operated heavily around Bermuda during World War II, reported several mysterious incidents near the island's waters, fueling the story further. Pop culture played its part too. Hollywood movies and TV sensationalized the triangle's stories as exotic and terrifying, baking them into public consciousness. Writers and filmmakers took the loose threads of historical reports, added a sprinkle of alien encounters or underwater city theories, and presto, the Bermuda Triangle became a household phrase symbolizing unexplained disappearance. Historians still argue whether the widespread use of Bermuda Triangle helped or hurt serious inquiry. Some believe the label sensationalized real tragedies and overshadowed rational investigation. Others argue it gave voice to stories that might otherwise have faded into obscurity. In any case, that catchy phrase made mystery a brand, a cultural phenomenon far beyond its original maritime roots. The aura of the Bermuda Triangle shows how names matter, how branding can shape our perception of places and events. Just like the phrase, "the lost city of Atlantis ignites curiosity and speculation," the Bermuda Triangle invites fascination and fear simply by being named and framed by popular media. As you think about this, spare a moment for Vincent Gaddis and that Argosy article. It's almost like someone lit a match, and that flame kept burning for decades, feeding the fires of countless theories, books, and late-night conversations. Now, every time you hear Bermuda Triangle, you're hearing the echo of that 1950s spark, igniting a mystery that continues to enthrall and baffle people worldwide. So, you're now standing at a crossroads where history meets storytelling, fact wiggles alongside fiction, all tied together by 3 points on a map and a name that promises something dark and unknowable lurking somewhere beneath the waves. You're standing on the precipice of one of the most iconic vanishings in Bermuda Triangle lore, Flight 19. Picture yourself in 1945, a squadron of 5 U.S. Navy bombers, already on a routine training mission over the Atlantic. But something is wrong. The squadron leader's compass, the vital instrument guiding them home, starts spinning wildly. They quickly lose their sense of direction. Radio contact becomes a jumble of frantic, garbled messages, reports of strange clouds, and an ominous fog rolling in. Then, one by one, the planes vanish over the horizon, swallowed by the vast emptiness. Flight 19 has become a cornerstone of the Bermuda Triangle's mystique, an eerie symbol of technology and nature colliding in a deadly dance. But here's a fact that often slips through the cracks. The search and rescue plane sent after them, a PBM Mariner, also disappears without a trace. The ocean seems to swallow both hunter and prey. Now, if you're a bit queasy about disappearing aircraft, you're not alone. This incident still sends shivers down the spines of skeptics and believers alike. Oddly enough, Flight 19 was not the Triangle's first mysterious disappearance. Mariners and aviators had reported strange losses going back to the early 20th century, but this case catapulted the area into headlines and public consciousness. You sense a moment where history and legend blur. Was it pilot error, bad weather, or something more baffling? Historians still argue whether overconfidence, poor training, or faulty navigation explain the incident better than any spooky hypothesizing. A quirky tidbit: one co-pilot on Flight 19 was reportedly convinced they had crossed over city lights on a distant shore, believing they had passed Florida when in fact they were circling the Atlantic without a clear sense of position. The disorientation must have been maddening. The radio transmissions from Flight 19 evoke haunting images, voices confused, panicked, descriptions of strange gas, turbulence, and dark skies. You can almost feel the pilot's desperation pressing through the crackling static, and when those last words vanished into the endless sky, so did a chunk of certainty about what happened in this stretch of ocean. Flight 19's disappearance has since been dissected by experts and enthusiasts. Some point to rapid weather changes, magnetic anomalies interfering with navigation, or even bird strikes. Others speculate about underwater methane hydrates causing bubbles that reduce water density, making planes sink like stones. It's a cocktail of plausible explanations left swirling like the waves beneath you. But the fact remains, these planes, these men, simply vanished without leaving physical wreckage behind, a haunting testament to the Bermuda Triangle's grim reputation. And the mystery doesn't stop at Flight 19. Your mind starts chiming with a litany of other vanished ships and aircraft scattered across the Triangle's expanse. You may find yourself wondering if the ocean is a hungry beast, or if the sky itself cheats those who fly too close to this patch of sea. Weird, unnerving, and outright tragic, Flight 19 set the tone for the Bermuda enigma and seeded countless stories that would follow. The ocean holds grudges, they say, and around the Bermuda Triangle it's taken plenty, in the form of ships that simply disappeared, as if swallowed by the sea itself. Imagine tracing the wake of luxury liners, fishing boats, and sturdy freighters that left port with steady hands and hopeful hearts, only to vanish without a single distress signal or piece of wreckage. One of the eeriest tales involves the SS Marine Sulphur Queen, a huge tanker carrying molten sulfur, which was last heard from in 1963. The ship disappeared somewhere in the Triangle, and despite extensive searches, no physical trace was ever found. Some claim the sulfur cargo may have exploded or dissolved, making it hard to detect remains, while others believe the entire ship simply vanished beneath a massive rogue wave or a sudden storm surge. Then there's the story of the USS Cyclops, a Navy cargo ship with over 300 men aboard, lost in 1918. No distress call, no wreckage, just a ghostly void where the ship should be. This remains one of the single largest non-combat losses of life in U.S. Navy history and one of the biggest unsolved disappearances in the Triangle's infamous portfolio. You might also recall the Carroll A. Deering, a commercial schooner found abandoned off the North Carolina coast in 1921, its sails torn but no souls aboard, the so-called ghost ship. Theories range from piracy, mutiny, supernatural intervention, or simply a freak accident, but nothing fits perfectly. It's one of the haunting puzzles fueling the Triangle's sinister aura. But here's a curious, less-known detail. Many lost ships in the area had structural or mechanical issues, or were pushing their limits in risky weather. For example, the Cyclops was heavily laden and known to have some maintenance problems that might have compromised its seaworthiness. That mix of human error and treacherous conditions often gets overshadowed by wilder speculations. Historians still argue whether the sheer volume of traffic crossing the Triangle naturally leads to more accidents, or if the waters truly have a malevolent streak. Statistically, some say this stretch of ocean is no more dangerous than other busy sea lanes, but the storytelling difference is huge. It's the way these disappearances have accumulated into a concentrated narrative bubble. And so, versus thinking of these disappearances as isolated tragedies, you start to sense a pattern, or maybe just a collection of unfortunate coincidences made mysterious by silence beneath the waves. The ocean's appetite for secrets is voracious, and every vanished vessel adds a new thread to the tangled web. The stories of lost ships reinforce that the Bermuda Triangle isn't just a place on the map. It's a shadowy playground for nature's most unpredictable forces, where cold water, pressure, and tempestuous seas grind away at man's mightiest inventions. You wonder if, somewhere far beneath the surface, uncharted currents and underwater topography conspire to mask wreckage and scatter evidence, frustrating every search party. This mixture, wrecked vessels, missing crews, and seas that refuse to reveal their secrets, keeps that uneasy hum alive in your mind as you drift further into the Triangle's vast, enigmatic embrace. The Bermuda Triangle's reputation owes a huge part to the ocean's bizarre, sometimes terrifying weather, vast tempests that can brew suddenly, and giant waves that seem to come out of nowhere. You can almost feel the swells rising beneath your feet, the sky growing dark and heavy with the promise of a storm. This is a place where nature flexes its muscles in fearsome ways. Gigantic rogue waves, sometimes called freak waves, play a starring role in the mystery. These ocean monsters can reach heights of over 80 feet, towering like skyscrapers, and they often strike without warning. Sailors report a sudden wall of water appearing directly in front of their vessel, leaving chaos in its wake. Scientists once thought such waves were incredibly rare, but radar and satellite data have confirmed they pop up more often than we assumed, especially in parts of the Atlantic like the Bermuda Triangle. Then, there are violent underwater methane hydrate eruptions, which some researchers say might trigger sudden and dramatic changes in water density. Methane gas trapped deep beneath the ocean floor can sometimes burst upward, creating bubbles that cause the water to lose buoyancy. A boat encountering this methane slick could suddenly lose lift, sinking swiftly. Some fringe theories suggest this happens frequently in the Triangle, perhaps explaining some vanishings without a trace. The weather is another wild card. The Bermuda Triangle sits where the warm tropical waters of the Caribbean meet cooler Atlantic currents, the perfect formula for strange cloud formations and hurricanes. In the summer, you're risking a collision course with storms that can go from calm to catastrophic in minutes. Rapidly changing atmospheric pressure, sudden downdrafts, and unpredictable squalls can challenge even the most skilled captains and pilots. You feel the ocean's mood swings like a living thing here, unpredictable and unforgiving. The notorious air bombs, sudden strong downdrafts, can send planes plummeting, while waterspouts, ripped right out of the sea, are like tornadoes on water, tossing ships as if they were toys. You can almost hear the groan of rigging and crackle of lightning across the waves. Historians still argue whether these meteorological factors explain most Bermuda Triangle disappearances. Some insist many incidents labeled mysteries had nothing mysterious about them at all, just brutal, natural hazards that doomed vessels before they could call for help. A quirky side note: there's an old sailor's superstition about dead calm seas in the Triangle being the most dangerous, because when the ocean surface is eerily flat, it means a storm is brewing below. You might never see the tempest coming until it's too late. So, as you shift position and listen to the whisper of rain and wind beyond your imaginary cabin window, remember this: the Bermuda Triangle's weather alone is enough to terrify and perplex those who dare cross it. The sea's furious temperament and sudden mood swings are perfectly capable of turning survival into a dice roll. All of this combines to create an environment where vessels can disappear suddenly, swallowed by earth, sea, and sky, etching new chapters into the never-ending mystery. And somehow, even after centuries of scientific study, the natural forces here still keep you wondering just what exactly lurks beneath the surface. Here's where things get a little weird. You've probably heard about compasses going haywire in the Bermuda Triangle, right? Imagine trusting your compass as your lifeline, only for it to start spinning wildly like it's caught in some invisible magnetic storm. It's as if the Earth itself decides to mess with you here. You're navigating over a vast, twisting sea where magnetic north and true north don't always match up, and sometimes compasses just refuse to cooperate. The Bermuda Triangle lies near what's called the Atlantic Magnetic Anomaly, an area where the Earth's magnetic field behaves unusually. Some pilots and sailors reported their instruments glitching, causing routes to spiral off course. This kind of disruption could easily cause confusion, especially back when navigation depended on compass readings and dead reckoning. You know, that old-school style of direction by feeling when tech fails. A quirky scientific tidbit: some researchers speculate that undersea deposits of magnetic minerals or even strange magnetic eddies below the ocean floor might cause localized magnetic chaos. However, conclusive proof remains elusive, and the story grows ever more tantalizing. Yet it's also worth noting that GPS technology and modern navigation have greatly reduced these occurrences, though some compasses might still give trouble depending on proximity to magnetic ores. Historians still argue whether these magnetic anomalies are the main culprits for the Triangle's odd phenomena, or if human error plays a much bigger role. Anyone who's tried to read a faulty compass during a sea fog or storm might agree it's easy to get lost, especially if panic kicks in. The nervous mind can magnify small glitches into full-blown crises. One fringe theory even suggests that the Earth's magnetic poles might shift temporarily over the triangle, causing a brief time warp effect that scrambles instruments, though this stretches the boundaries of science and dips into science fiction. Still, it's a fun mental image: pilots flying blind in a bubble of twisted time and space. You're left to imagine yourself gripping the yoke of a plane or holding the helm of a ship, eyes flickering between the failing compass and the endless horizon, caught between trust and uncertainty. The frustration of navigation failure combines with the unforgiving sea and sky, a recipe for disappearance. When you consider the Bermuda Triangle's magnetic quirks alongside its notorious weather and strange geography, it seems almost designed as a trap for the unwary. But is it a supernatural trap, a coincidence of natural forces, or simply a zone where the ocean and physics conspire to challenge human skill? The answer remains as elusive as the compasses that have spun themselves into madness here. In this tangled mix, you begin to appreciate the delicate dance between human technology and nature's unpredictable temperament, one that has, time and again, turned confident travelers into ghost stories. So, as you drift with this thought, remember, sometimes the simplest tools, like a compass, can fail spectacularly, leading to stories whispered for decades. Now, buckle up, because you're about to dive into some of the more out-there explanations, those paranormal and alien theories that turn the Bermuda Triangle into a sci-fi thriller. As you drift along, it's hard to miss how the triangle has become a stage for encounters with unexplained lights in the sky, tales of time lapses, and rumors of underwater bases hidden beneath the waves. Imagine pilots describing flashes of bright, unidentifiable objects hovering near their aircraft right before communication blackouts. Or sailors claiming to see glowing orbs darting over the horizon just before their ship's instruments go silent. There have been stories of vortexes acting like portals to another dimension, time warps where hours might slip away, or landscapes shift unpredictably. Some even say the triangle could be a point where the fabric of reality thins, opening doorways to parallel worlds or alien abductions. One quirky tidbit: a few conspiracy theorists suggest the lost city of Atlantis might rest beneath these waters, and its hidden technologies interfere with modern navigation. While this sounds like pure fantasy, the fascination perfectly captures human imagination, craving answers beyond earthly explanations. Let's be clear, these ideas are far from accepted science. Historians and experts overwhelmingly maintain skepticism, pointing out that sensational stories often spring from misinterpretations, hoaxes, or sheer coincidence. Still, the stories persist and grow with every retelling. Paranormal enthusiasts gather eyewitness testimonies and unsettling patterns to support their claims, keeping the mystery alive in dark corners of the internet and late-night radio shows. And while you might smile or roll your eyes at extraterrestrial theories, they serve an important role. They highlight just how deeply we wrestle with the unknown. Sometimes, when facts don't satisfy, people reach for wildly imaginative ideas because the alternative, accepting randomness and tragedy without explanation, feels too cold. But don't dismiss these tales too quickly. They reflect something very human, our desire to find meaning and wonder, to fill the gaps in knowledge with stories that thrill and chill. In a way, these fringe theories are like bedtime stories themselves, casting the Bermuda Triangle as a mystery not just of geography or physics, but of the universe and our place within it. So as your mind floats between skepticism and curiosity, you realize the Bermuda Triangle isn't just a patch of ocean. It's a blank canvas where fears and fantasies paint vivid pictures. It's a reminder that some mysteries endure precisely because they challenge explanation, inviting us to dream of the impossible. Whether you buy into the alien sightings or time portals or not, the Triangle's enigmatic whispers nudge you closer to the limits of human understanding, and sometimes that's where the best stories live. You might find it reassuring, or maybe frustrating, that many in the academic and historical communities take a much more grounded view of the Bermuda Triangle. They sift through the stories not with sensational headlines, but with skepticism and cold logic. Historians still argue whether all the so-called mysteries aren't largely explainable by human error, exaggerations, and sometimes simple misreporting. For example, numerous incidents attributed to the Triangle have been debunked or shown to be inaccurately reported. Ships declared missing were often found docked elsewhere, or accidents happened miles outside the claimed boundaries. A crucial skeptic's point is that many Triangle disappearances occurred in heavily traveled sea lanes, where accidents were, statistically speaking, bound to happen. A quirky but telling quip among researchers is that the Bermuda Triangle is just the world's most publicized shipping lane. Sure, lots of ships and planes traverse it daily, increasing the odds against survival when things go south. But the media's selective storytelling turned this spike into a dense cloud of mystery. Many historians emphasize the role of human factors, navigational mistakes, poor equipment maintenance, and underestimating the sea's ferocity. Pilots flying in challenging weather, inexperienced crews, and the limitations of mid-20th century technology often combined into disasters that were tragic but hardly supernatural. Another notable scholarly debate is whether the myth of the Bermuda Triangle has distorted historical records. Some researchers say the focus on mysterious causes sometimes ignores the real lessons from the accidents. Over-reliance on folklore reduces the urgency to improve safety measures or pay attention to mundane yet fatal errors. You may find it surprising how many original reports turned out to be hoaxes or urban legends that snowballed. For instance, the mystery around the USS Cyclops diminishes somewhat when you consider the wartime context and the ship's heavy load and known structural issues. These details don't make the story any less tragic, but do root it firmly in reality. There's an inevitable irony here. The power of mystery has often overshadowed rational explanations, making the Bermuda Triangle a sort of cultural Rorschach test. What you see in it often reveals more about your beliefs than the ocean's secrets, and the triangle's enduring mystery might just be precisely because people want it to be mysterious. It invites wonder, fear, and imagination in ways that dry scientific reports don't. As you reflect on this, it's clear that the Bermuda Triangle lives in the space between fact and fiction, a nebulous zone where skepticism meets fascination and the search for truth becomes an adventure in itself. So while you snuggle under the blanket of rationality, don't dismiss the power of legend. The Bermuda Triangle's legacy rests as much on stories told around the campfire as on waves tracing old shipping routes. As the decades rolled on and technology advanced, scientists began taking a more systematic approach to the Bermuda Triangle. Modern scientific studies came into the picture, trying to unravel this oceanic enigma with data, satellites, and oceanographic research. Instead of relying on legend, researchers turned to atmospheric physics, oceanography, and even computer simulations. You can feel the pulse of modern science buzzing beneath the waves. Satellites have scanned the region repeatedly, uncovering patterns invisible to the human eye. For instance, some studies reveal that the triangle's waters are extraordinarily active, with deep ocean currents swirling unpredictably and undersea topography, creating treacherous conditions for vessels passing overhead. A notable scientific finding involves the presence of methane hydrate pockets buried under the seafloor. When these gases violently escape, they can disrupt the water's density, potentially causing ships to lose buoyancy and sink suddenly. It's an intriguing natural explanation that fits certain disappearance accounts, although there's debate about how often this actually happens. Another focus has been on extreme weather patterns and localized storms that can grow rapidly with no warning. Modern measurement tools catch microbursts, sudden downdrafts of wind powerful enough to challenge aircraft, phenomena that earlier generations might never have understood. These atmospheric quirks could easily account for disastrous crashes and sinkings. Interestingly, advances in navigational technology have drastically reduced the number of incidents in this area. Sophisticated GPS systems and real-time weather tracking help pilots and sailors avoid hazards that once caught many off guard. This shift in safety statistics suggests a strong connection between human error and past mishaps amplified by technological limits rather than inexplicable forces. Yet, even with this new scientific lens, some disappearances remain puzzling. Despite improved search and rescue capabilities and satellite surveillance, many wrecks still haven't been found, sparking ongoing studies and suspenseful speculation. Modern ocean explorers equip themselves with sonar, robotic subs, and deep-water cameras, but the sealed secrets beneath the waves refuse to yield easily. Historians and scientists still debate how much natural phenomena really explain versus factors like reporting errors, exaggerations, or simple coincidence. But the trend leans toward rational inquiry replacing myth as our primary tool for understanding. That said, there's a certain beauty to this collision between old mystery and new technology, two ways of knowing that shape our view of the triangle. Science doesn't erase the haunting stories, instead it deepens them, adding layers of context and pushing us to question what we think we know. As you float in this moment of calm, consider how far we've come. The Bermuda Triangle is no longer just a shadowy threat, but a complex interplay of natural forces and human experiences, a riddle still partially unsolved, inviting curiosity and respect. The Bermuda Triangle's reputation owes much to the way pop culture has shaped and amplified its stories. You could say that media didn't just report the mysteries, they helped create them. From pulpy books to thrilling movies and more recently, endless YouTube videos, the Triangle has become a brand synonymous with the unexplained and the eerie. Just think about how the story has been told. Films like The Triangle or documentaries remixing decades-old footage packed with suspenseful music and ominous narration. Writers often take liberties, blending fact and fiction so tightly that it's hard to tell one from the other. Even the sensational headlines screaming, "Another plane lost in Bermuda Triangle," keep the public attention spinning way past the initial news cycle. A fun bit here, one of the earliest popular books on the subject, Charles Berlitz's The Bermuda Triangle from the 1970s, sold millions of copies worldwide. Berlitz's work mixed documented disappearances with wild hypotheses like time warps and Atlantis, fueling a wave of triangular fever that had people gazing at maps suspiciously. His books got Hollywood's wheels spinning and helped cement the Triangle's place in spooky folklore. This media frenzy didn't just entertain, it influenced perceptions and even official reports. Some incidents seemed more mysterious simply because the media spotlight magnified every detail and omitting mundane causes made for better storytelling. It's the classic feedback loop. Public interest drives media coverage, which in turn builds more myths. Historians still argue over how much this media amplification distorts the truth. Some believe it's a case study in creating modern legend, where the line between fact and fiction blurs intentionally. The Bermuda Triangle offers a perfect template for fear and wonder, making it irresistible for storytellers globally. You might even consider how social media and digital platforms today keep the mystery alive. Dozens of channels explore everything from scientific debunking to alien theories, keeping viewers hooked with fresh takes and dramatic reenactments. The rise of fan theories and memes means the Triangle's lore evolves with every generation, proving just how powerful a good story can be. And amidst all this, the real-world impact is considerable. The media narrative sometimes eclipses safety warnings, making sailors and pilots wary, or, conversely, overly confident in dismissing dangers. The Bermuda Triangle story has become a cultural phenomenon beyond ocean charts, almost a mythic touchstone for facing the unknown. So as you relax into this story, you realize you're not just listening to history, you're experiencing how stories grow, mutate, and live on. The Bermuda Triangle is as much a tale of media magic as it is a maritime mystery, a perfect storm of fact, fiction, and human fascination. Amid all the mystery and myth, there are rare cases where sailors and pilots have survived the Bermuda Triangle's grasp, offering first-hand glimpses into the strange phenomena that seem to shroud the area. Imagine themselves, usually decades ago, caught suddenly in swirling fog banks or unexpected storms, their equipment playing tricks, and skies morphing from clear blues into ominous grays in moments. Their stories add a human texture to this vast blue enigma. One such survivor recounted how his ship's compass inexplicably oscillated before navigation systems went dead, leaving him and his crew blindly feeling their way through thick, smoky fog. They experienced sudden drops in temperature and eerie, unexplained lights flickering on the horizon, but despite all this, they lived. Another pilot described entering a strange cloud bank where time seemed to stretch and repeat, clocks acting as if possessed, making the minutes feel like hours and confusing even the most experienced crew. You must keep in mind, these accounts often come from seasoned veterans wary of the Triangle's reputation, but dedicated to duty. Their calm retelling contrasts sharply with the chaos they endured. The crew of the sailing ship Zaka spoke about sudden magnetic fluctuations, and at times, Strange silence fell over radios like a pall, broken only by distant, untraceable sounds. These testimonies occasionally provide clues that support certain scientific or meteorological explanations, but more often they seem to deepen the mystery, offering experiences that lurk between fact and the surreal. Historians still argue how much weight to give eyewitness accounts, as memories can be fallible, particularly in life-threatening situations. Yet, these stories persist, painting a rich tableau layered with human courage, confusion, and sometimes superstition. A quirky note here: some survivors have reported odd sea creatures or unexplained underwater noises just before peril struck, feeding into folklore about the triangle's hidden depths, harboring unknown life or secrets. Listening to these testimonies, you almost hear the crackle of radio static, the rushing wind through rigging, and the steady but wary voices of those who face the triangle and live to tell the tale. It humanizes the myth, reminding you that beyond the stories and theories are real people, navigating uncertainty and surviving sheer terror. These rare survivors remind you that the Bermuda Triangle is not just an abstract zone of fear, but a place where reality and mystery collide, where technology, nature, and human resolve intermingle. Their experiences offer a bridge between our understanding and the unknown, pulling you further into the dark, yet fascinating heart of the mystery. By now you've swum through stories of vanishings, navigational madness, and mysterious lights, and maybe you're wondering what lessons the Bermuda Triangle offers beyond hair-raising tales. At its core, this is a story about human fear, our relationships with nature, and the timeless pull of the unknown. First, the Bermuda Triangle teaches respect for how unpredictable the ocean and sky can be. It reminds you that despite all the technology at our disposal, nature can still surprise, overwhelm, or simply refuse to be fully understood. Mariners and aviators learned loudly and sometimes tragically that the sea demands humility. Even the most advanced compass or radar can't guarantee safety in chaotic conditions. This mystery also shows how fear shapes our stories and experiences. The triangle isn't just a patch of ocean, it's a symbol of the unknown, lurking just beyond the horizon. We humans are wired to fill gaps in understanding with stories, sometimes terrifying, sometimes fantastical, because uncertainty makes our minds itch for answers. The lore surrounding the triangle pulls you into a narrative about confronting uncertainty, fear, and the fragile line between control and chaos. Moreover, it illustrates the limits of human perception and memory. As you've heard from survivors and skeptics alike, what people remember isn't always what happened, and sometimes errors snowball into legends. The triangle shows how history and myth braid together, how storytelling becomes as important as fact in passing down knowledge. You might also appreciate that the Bermuda Triangle symbolizes the allure of mystery itself. Even after decades of rational explanations and scientific advances, it continues to grip imaginations worldwide. It serves as a reminder that some questions, no matter how long we search, remain open, and that's part of what makes them so compelling. A quirky consideration here is whether the triangle's mystery appeals because it stands for challenges we all face: the discomfort of not knowing what's next, navigating through unseen risks, or stepping beyond the comfort of familiar shores. So, as you lay back and watch the stars flickering above, the Bermuda Triangle quietly reminds you something essential. Life is filled with moments when control slips away, when we must trust courage, intuition, and a little faith to carry us through. This uneasy balance between the known and unknown is one of the oldest human experiences, and the triangle is its distilled symbol. In that sense, the mystery teaches patience, curiosity, and the willingness to embrace uncertainty rather than fear it. It's not just about missing planes or ships. It's a deeper meditation on how people live with the unknown and how stories help us do just that. Even as modern science peels back many layers of the Bermuda Triangle's mystery, unanswered questions still linger, tugging at the edges of your curiosity. You sense that no matter how many reports get debunked or rationally explained, The legend persists because something intangible refuses to settle. Why do disappearances cluster here, despite advances in technology and navigation? Why do tales of strange lights, compass quirks, and sudden storms keep emerging? Some say it's just coincidence. Busy shipping lanes meet fierce weather, creating natural hazards that seem supernatural only because we hate to admit we can't predict everything. Others argue that the triangle is a pressure cooker for mystery, a perfect storm of historical incidents, folklore, and human psychology. Perhaps the Bermuda Triangle holds a mirror up to us, reflecting our hunger for stories that defy logic, for mysteries shouting in the silence of the deep. Even skeptics get pulled in. There's a timeless appeal to wondering whether the ocean conceals secrets beyond wreckage and bad weather. Modern-day thrill-seekers, divers, and researchers keep probing the triangle's depths and skies, driven by both scientific curiosity and the lure of uncovering something extraordinary. Equipment plunges into dark waters, mapping the seafloor, while satellites scan skies for anomalies. Yet, the triangle keeps its secrets close, teasing new rumors every year. A quirky, lesser-known fact. Some locals refer to parts of the triangle as the graveyard of the Atlantic, imparting tribal gravity to the place, a name that fuses nature's dangers with cultural memory. And so, in your mind's eye, the Bermuda Triangle becomes more than a place. It's an idea, a symbol, a story that refuses to end. It invites you to drift between belief and skepticism, fact and fancy, and maybe that's why it still captivates your imagination as you stare into the night. As you close your eyes, the triangle whispers a quiet invitation to respect the vast unknown and to embrace the mysteries that keep the world wide, wild, and endlessly fascinating. After all, some secrets aren't meant to be solved, they're meant to be lived with and wondered about. As your journey through the dim-lit corridors of the Bermuda Triangle slowly winds down, it's time to draw back from that deep, restless sea and let your mind float gently toward calm. Imagine the waves growing softer, the howling winds retreating, and the heavy cloak of mystery lifting, just enough to reveal that endless, quiet ocean once more. You're cocooned in a soft haze where every shadow relaxes and every question feels lighter. You've sailed through tales of vanished ships, spinning compasses, sky-glowing lights, and nature's wildest moods, stories that make the hair on your neck stand up just a little, but now feel the cool, steady pulse of reality beneath the myths. The ocean might seem vast and unknowable, yet it's also a place of balance, a realm where fear and understanding dance slowly, patiently, over centuries. There is comfort in the vastness, in the rhythm of tides, and in the shared human need to seek truth, no matter how elusive. Remember that for every mystery whispered by the triangle, there are hands reaching out with knowledge, curiosity, and courage. They map the seabed with laser precision, track tempests before they strike, and record every detail so future travelers can sail safer and surer. What once was feared as a gateway to doom is slowly becoming a testament to resilience and human spirit. So as your eyes peel closed and the room darkens further, drift like a feather on the ocean breeze. Let the soft rustle of waves and the gentle hum of unseen engines lull you deeper into rest. Know that the mystery doesn't haunt you here. Instead, it becomes a lullaby, an invitation to dream, wonder, and embrace the sleepy magic